Ripa didn't hold back while sharing her unfiltered thoughts on Botox, warning young fans they may regret getting work done on their faces too soon. During the Wednesday, February 18th, episode of Live with Kelly and Mark, Ripa and her husband, Mark Consuelos, kicked off a conversation about aging and whether older adults are better at reading facial expressions than younger people. We're not quite there yet. We're not grannies or grandfathers yet, but older people are better at reading people's facial expressions than younger people, Consuelos said while reading off a sheet of paper. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos say kids' faces are stuck in their phones. Kelly Ripa didn't hold back while sharing her unfiltered thoughts on Botox, warning young fans they may regret getting work done on their faces too soon. During the Wednesday, February 18th, episode of Live with Kelly and Mark, Ripa and her husband, Mark Consuelos, kicked off a conversation about aging and whether older adults are better at reading facial expressions than younger people. We're not quite there yet. We're not grannies or grandfathers yet, but older people are better at reading people's facial expressions than younger people, Consuelos said while reading off a sheet of paper. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos say kids' faces are stuck in their phones. Consuelos continued the debate, noting, they say that's because older adults can tap into life experiences. No, I don't think that's it. I think that's because we didn't have phones. We weren't born into the phones. A world of technology. Yeah, we weren't connected to things like that, Ripa admitted. But the conversation quickly took a sharper turn when Ripa brought up cosmetic procedures. Although I will say that the grandmas and grandpas may not be as good at reading expressions now because people, another article I read, are delving into Botox younger and younger. Which to me is wild. It's wild. It's like you haven't even. Life hasn't even hit you yet, she declared. You are going to make yourself look older. These are my opinions again. Ripa went on to explain when she believes Botox actually makes sense. I feel like Botox should be a thing when every one of your coworkers or all of your friend group are saying, you didn't sleep again last night, huh? And you got a full night of sleep. Then that's the time. That's when you know it's the time, she quipped. Circling back to the initial discussion point, Consuelos asked, so they're looking at frozen faces, you think? Yeah, so I don't know what they're reading, Ripa replied, joking. Maybe grandparents have dog-like sense, they can smell it more than see it. This isn't the first time Ripa has made comments about Botox. Ripa previously got candid about her own cosmetic journey during an episode of her Let's Talk Off Camera podcast in February 2025. At the time, the 55-year-old revealed she typically receives Botox injections 3 times a year and expressed a desire to have a mini facelift. It was a typical bright, bustling morning on the set of Live with Kelly and Mark, but Wednesday, February 18th, held something different. The energy in the studio was a mixture of routine excitement and the subtle anticipation of viewers tuning in from across the country. Millions would soon watch as Emmy Award-winning hosts Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos shared their unfiltered, candid thoughts, not about celebrity gossip, not about the latest movie, but about something much more personal, aging, technology, and the subtle, surprising truths about human expression. From the moment the cameras began rolling, it was clear this episode would stand out. Kelly, known for her witty, approachable, and no-nonsense commentary, leaned forward with her signature bright smile, ready to dive into a topic that many consider taboo for daytime television, cosmetic procedures and the cultural obsession with youth. Sitting beside her, Mark Consuelos, her husband of decades and frequent co-host, shuffled a sheet of paper with notes, preparing to guide the conversation with his calm, grounding presence. The conversation begins, reading faces in a digital age. Mark opened the discussion with an observation that immediately resonated with many viewers, the difference between how older and younger adults interpret human expressions. We're not quite there yet, he began, glancing at the sheet in front of him. We're not grannies or grandfathers yet, but older people are better at reading people's facial expressions than younger people. Kelly chuckled softly, tilting her head. You're not wrong, Mark. I mean, I see it all the time. You can tell when someone's lying or upset, or just pretending they're fine, sometimes even when they're really good at hiding it. Consuelos nodded. They say that's because older adults can tap into life experiences. But honestly, I think it's because we weren't born into phones. We weren't constantly staring at screens. We didn't have social media or emojis or filters. We had to figure it out ourselves. Kelly leaned back slightly, hands clasped in front of her, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. A world of technology. Yeah, we weren't connected to things like that. Kids today, they're learning expressions through pixels, through little squares on a screen. And that's just different. It's fascinating and a little terrifying. The camera lingered on Kelly's face as she spoke, capturing the earnestness behind her words. This was not a celebrity being glamorous for the audience. This was a woman reflecting on culture, change, and the subtle erosion of interpersonal skills in a hyper-connected, digital-first world. From expressions to cosmetic procedures. The conversation took a sharper turn when Kelly pivoted toward a topic that has always sparked both intrigue and controversy: Botox. She didn't ease into it. There was no preamble, no sugarcoating. She leaned forward, her eyes bright, and declared, "Although I will say that the grandmas and grandpas may not be as good at reading expressions now because people, another article I read, are delving into Botox younger and younger. Which to me is wild. It's wild. It's like life hasn't even hit you yet." The audience reacted with laughter and murmurs of agreement, knowing Kelly's style. Candid, unapologetic, and just a little bit theatrical. Mark tilted his head, a smirk playing on his lips. "So, you think the younger crowd is reading frozen faces?" Kelly's grin widened. "Exactly. Maybe grandparents have a dog-like sense. They can smell it more than see it." It was a moment that encapsulated the charm of their partnership. Kelly's instinctive humor, her observations from personal and professional experience, and Mark's steady, grounding presence as he framed the discussion for viewers. Kelly's perspective on timing. Kelly continued, elaborating on when, in her opinion, cosmetic procedures like Botox actually make sense. Her tone was both serious and playful, a mix that had endeared her to fans over decades. "I feel like Botox should be a thing when every one of your coworkers or all of your friend group are saying, 'You didn't sleep again last night, huh?' And you got a full night of sleep. Then, that's the time. That's when you know it's the time." The audience erupted in laughter at her honesty. It wasn't just a quip, it was a philosophy, a guideline grounded in lived experience. Kelly had never shied away from speaking about aging, beauty, and the choices women and men face as time marches on. Mark chimed in, shaking his head slightly, smiling. "So, basically you're telling them not to rush into it because younger faces can handle life's natural wear and tear." "Exactly," Kelly replied. "You don't know what life is going to throw at you yet. Let it happen naturally, then make the adjustments when they're really necessary." It was a refreshing stance in an era dominated by social media influencers promoting cosmetic interventions at ever younger ages. For Kelly, experience and moderation were paramount. Reflections on aging. The conversation naturally segued into broader reflections on aging, the passage of time, and how the human experience shapes our perception. Kelly leaned back, her hands resting lightly on her lap. "Yo, Mark, I see young people all the time. Their faces are stuck in their phones. They don't even make eye contact properly. They text, they swipe, they smile at filters. And when they look at each other, blank, emotionless, no depth. That's what worries me." Mark nodded gravely. "I think there's a huge advantage in growing up without all that technology. We learned how to read people's expressions because we had to, not because an app told us what mood someone was in." Kelly's voice softened slightly, revealing the vulnerability beneath her sharp humor. And it's not just expressions. It's empathy, intuition, all the subtle things that make us human. Botox or no Botox, screens or no screens, there's something lost when faces don't move naturally. The audience leaned in, captivated. Here was an icon speaking not about her latest project or celebrity scandal, but about the human experience itself, how technology, culture, and the passage of time intersect in ways that impact daily life. Personal experience with Botox. Of course, Kelly also drew on her own experiences, giving a candid glimpse behind the scenes of her beauty regimen. "This isn't just theory," she said, laughing lightly. "I've been getting Botox myself for years. 3 times a year, actually. And yes, I've thought about a mini facelift. But it's all about timing. You can't just do it because someone told you it's cute or Instagram-worthy. You need life experience first." Mark raised his eyebrows. "So, you've been doing it responsibly?" Kelly smirked. "Oh, absolutely. I know when it's needed, and I know when it's not. And let me tell you, rushing into it too soon? You'll regret it later. Trust me on that one." Her honesty was a breath of fresh air for viewers, many of whom had faced similar societal pressures around beauty and aging. Kelly wasn't condemning cosmetic interventions. She was advocating for patience, thoughtfulness, and self-awareness. Humor, insight, and the audience. What made this segment particularly memorable wasn't just the advice or the opinions. It was the interplay between Kelly and Mark, the humor sprinkled throughout, and the relatable truths they shared. Mark leaned back, glancing at Kelly. "So really, you're saying frozen faces are unreadable?" Kelly laughed, pointing a finger at him. "Exactly. And you can't fake experience, Mark. Life shows in your eyes, in your expressions, in the way you move. Botox might smooth a wrinkle, but it can't give you depth. The audience erupted, applauding and laughing along. For many, it felt like a personal conversation rather than a staged television moment, a glimpse into the couple's real-life philosophy on beauty, age, and authenticity. Broader cultural context. Kelly's comments also sparked a broader discussion about societal pressures on appearance. Younger viewers, particularly those immersed in social media culture, were reminded that aging is natural and that early cosmetic interventions aren't always necessary. Look, Kelly added, her tone becoming a little more serious, I get it. The pressure is intense. Filters, influencers, highlights, wrinkles, it's a lot. But rushing into Botox before you even know what life is like? It's just not worth it. Let the story of your face unfold naturally. Mark nodded in agreement. And honestly, people should focus on empathy, kindness, connection, all the things that no procedure can replicate. Faces are for more than just aesthetics. The segment became a touchstone for discussions online, with fans praising Kelly for her honesty and humor, while others debated the right age for cosmetic procedures. Across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, hashtags like hashtag #KellyRipaBotox and hashtag #AgingGracefully began trending, with thousands of fans weighing in. Closing thoughts. By the end of the episode, Kelly and Mark had successfully delivered a mix of humor, insight, and practical advice. From reading facial expressions to understanding the psychological impact of social media and cosmetic culture, the couple had opened a dialogue that resonated far beyond the studio audience. Kelly's final words lingered in the air. Life hits us all differently. Our faces tell a story, every laugh, every tear, every moment of love or frustration. Don't rush it. Don't freeze it. Embrace it. Mark smiled, reaching for her hand. And if you need a little smoothing along the way, that's okay too. Just make sure it's the right time. For millions of viewers, this episode of Live with Kelly and Mark wasn't just entertaining. It was a reminder of authenticity, patience, and enduring power of human experience. As the cameras cut to commercial, Kelly leaned back, smiling at Mark. We didn't get too heavy, did we? He laughed. Not too heavy, just heavy enough to make them think. And with that, the hosts left the audience with both laughter and reflection, proving once again why their partnership, both on and off screen, remains one of daytime television's most enduring and beloved.